Good morning to the leadership of Da Nang and distinguished guests and everyone. It's a very good feeling to be in Da Nang. The last time I was here with my team was over a year ago when the borders opened up. And so it's very good to see so many good friends from our fellow investment funds and from the government officials and from the schools who are here today. So my topic today is on building a thriving startup and innovation ecosystem. The videos that you have seen earlier from Da Nang has already shown you what working together can do to a city. And this is what we have tried to do in Singapore. So I'm from Singapore, so naturally my experience today will be to talk about what we have done for our little nation to bring it from number 18 to number 8 in the last 4 years. But what was not spoken was that before we got to number 18, we were actually not too bad. We were at around number 10. And then we started to slow down. We started to take our eyes off what is important, which is an ecosystem. We started, for example, to look too much into corporate innovation compared to the other pillars. We started to look too much into just startups instead of the other pillars, and so on. And so we dropped from number 10 to number 12 to 14 to 17 and number 18. And something had to be done. And so with the support of our government officials, because our government official, the minister, one of the ministers in the trade and industry of ministry, is the patron or supporter of the startups and innovation ecosystem. And so with the support of the minister, we were able to put in place some painful changes just to make sure that Singapore continues to be a vibrant hub for startup and innovation, not just for Singapore itself, but for Southeast Asia and hopefully for the world. So with that, let me share some humble approaches that we have adopted in the last 4 years. So number one, government, obviously. And so today, not just because we have with us Da Nang city government officials, but because government is a very important part of any ecosystem in the world. And I mean this not just from them supporting, but at the minimum, they should not be interfering. Because by default, startups are disruptive. Startups like, for example, Grab, that everybody knows, are by very nature trying to disrupt taxis. And so government in the past have shown that they are prepared to intervene for the benefit of traditional industries. This has happened for Grab, for the traditional taxis, and this will continue to happen. And so what is needed is for government to continue to engage with the sector like today so that they are aware of what's happening and most importantly, protect the interests of the consumers at large. The 1.1 million population in Da Nang, the 100 million population in Vietnam surely benefited from Grab. So we are looking forward to working closely with governments, not just because we don't want them to interfere, but because of the various support schemes that they have, working with universities and so on, and giving out funding for startups. These are all important. And I hope that today's report on 2023 Tech Fest, WISE, and so on that Da Nang City has shown you will continue to encourage the Da Nang City government to continue to do more for the ecosystem here. Number two, corporations. Corporations are important not just because they are a potential acquirer of startups, but because they are an important purchaser of services from startups. And so in this, I want to highlight some of the friends that we have brought here today. I have CP Group, one of the most famous companies from Thailand, and they are a very big supporter of startups, not just to acquire them, but to support their services, buy their services, pay for their services, and use them. There are many corporates right now who pay lip service, and they say they want to support startups, but they never do. Or they will want to work with startups, but they never pay. This has to stop somewhere. So corporations should be encouraged to work with startups, and I know that startups will fail. Startups do fail, and then when they do fail, they create a disruption in the corporates. Unfortunately, that happens, and it will never go away. But for now, open-minded corporates should be encouraged and should be highlighted and maybe should be given awards for working with startups. And I hope that the city government here can continue to work with the corporates like what we have seen earlier. Not just that, but corporates also has corporate innovation funds and corporate accelerators or corporate innovation labs. And these are important. And so there are national schemes in Vietnam to encourage corporates to set up their own corporate innovation funds. And so for the corporates in this room, I hope that you take up the challenge to set up an innovation fund, just a little bit from your balance sheet to support the startup innovation ecosystem. Who knows, maybe your next biggest product will come from such an internally built service or product. Next, Institutes of Higher Learning, or IHLs. IHLs are obviously a very important source of talent, not just programming talent, finance talent, but also in terms of research talent. So there's plenty of research that we, in our journey across the whole of Vietnam, not just in Da Nang, but Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh, have seen that many researchers have very good, excellent research that are sitting on the shelves and not being commercialized. So what we are hoping to see is that more research can be commercialized through these institutes of higher learning, whether it is through a research institution or whether within the IHL itself. And I think we stand ready to work with you so that the startups that are created from such research have a moat of intellectual property that can be protective of their business model and that can help them grow, not just within Vietnam, but outside of Vietnam. Within IHLs itself, we have also seen a lot of partnerships happen between Vietnam and overseas. And so today, I'm very happy to see that we have Reactor School and also Republic Polytechnic from Singapore who have brought their entire delegation over here to encourage our startups to expand to an overseas country, but also to attract companies from here to use Singapore as a viable hub for soft landing. Number 4, risk capital. And so the risk capital is our bread and butter at Quest Ventures, but today I'm also very heartened that we have so many venture capital firms, especially my good friend from Do Ventures Ville, who have come here from different parts of Vietnam and even in different parts of Southeast Asia to listen and to see what Da Nang Startups has to offer. Risk capital plays an important role not just in funding the startups, but also in endorsing and giving a vouch or badge of honor, a badge of respectability to the startup. And this is something that is sorely lacking in many parts of Southeast Asia and many parts of other developing economies that we see. So we hope that startups in your growth not just depend on grants from the government, not just depend on your own organic cash flow, but also look at venture capital as a viable source of growth. Many of the world's largest companies today grew because of venture capital. So do consider it. And then last but not least, startups, of course. So for the startups in our room today, we are looking forward to listen to you. But the startups, not just in this room, but also across Da Nang and across Vietnam, should consider the support ecosystem that they have. And if another city is not providing it, why not consider somewhere else, such as Da Nang, for example? So you need to look at the entire ecosystem, see whether research institutions are able to help you, see whether IHLs have the talent for you to hire people to program, hire people to be your financial analysts, and see whether there are corporates who are willing to experiment with you in a controlled environment like Da Nang, and so on and so forth. And if you see that a city is not providing you the kind of support, or even a country is not providing you the kind of support, then move. Because this is your one project, and this could be your biggest project ever. So move to where it can give you the largest support. So this is a quick summary on Quest Ventures. We are a venture fund investing across Southeast Asia. We go to different places where we believe we can play a role, a small role, in building the ecosystem together. Because to us, it's not just about investing, it is also working with the 5 pillars that I mentioned above so that the overall ecosystem can grow, can flourish, and we, through our investment, can therefore also thrive. So with that, I come to the end of my presentation. I look very much forward to the rest of these 2 days of discussion.